Hey, everybody, Cinephile Mike, your friendly neighborhood cinephile, is here with day 14 of Awards Season Review Season 2, and we are kicking off Documentary Week. Yes, in honor of the International Documentary Association Awards that announced its winners last week, I'm going to highlight 7 films that have been making ground, many of which have been IDA nominees or winners. Now, fun fact for my Oscar pundits out there. The documentaries that have been nominated for Best Feature at the IDAs seem to, in recent years, give a good projection as to what will be nominated on Oscar night. In fact, so every year the IDA nominates 10 films for the Best Documentary Feature. Last year, all 5 of the nominees were included in that 10 last year, and 3 of them nominated in the previous year in 2021 made up 3 of the 5. So there's a good chance some of these that I hit on this week are going to be in that category. We will know more later on this week because this Thursday, December 21st, the Oscars will release their shortlists for several different categories, including Best Documentary Feature. But enough about the awards that are coming later. Let's talk about right now. First up, top prize winner at the IDAs, Best Documentary Feature, Bobi Wine, The People's President. Now, this was the only nomination for this film at the IDAs, and it took it. And it has had some other award season love. It was nominated for 3 British Independent Film Awards: Best Documentary Feature, Best Editing, and Best Debut Director of a Documentary Feature for one of the 2 directors, first-timer Christopher Sharp. His co-director, Moses Bwayo, not a first-time documentary filmmaker, so didn't qualify. Now, currently, as of this recording, the film has a total box office return of $44,486, with $30,189 coming domestically and $14,297 at the international box office. Now, as we know, these reviews are spoiler free. However, with documentaries, that line is a little tricky because some people may know all of the history, some people may know some of the history, some people may know none of it. So I'm going to try to do the best I can. So for those that know the history, I hope you still stick with me as I go through this. And for those that don't, you may learn something new. All right. So, Robert Hayuglani Sentamu, I apologize if anyone knows that I pronounced that wrong, whose stage name is Bobi Wine. He is an actor and a singer and also a prominent Ugandan politician. In 2021, Bobi Wine ran in the 2021 Ugandan presidential election with the goal to unseat the 35-year-long regime of Yoweri Museveni. Now, an activist, Bobby used his original music to spread his message to the people and also to fight against the oppression that he felt the country was facing at the hands of the current president. Co-directed by Sharp and Bwayo, Bobi Wine, the People's President, hones in and focuses on this election trail and journey that he went on in these recent years. Now, even though there is some reference to Wine's early life and his music career, the documentary does not get lost in that. They focus on these years, this presidential run. Now, told through Wine's music, some personal interviews, and intercutting news coverage and some talking heads, we just see how people with power take certain measures to enact things that they believe in on both sides of the fence. Needless to say, though, this is not the type of presidential trail that we see when we hear about presidential elections in the US. I'm not saying elections don't get heated. Just look at any form of social media to see what has happened in the last 3 or 4 presidential elections. But we are not usually faced with seeing staffers and people on both, on either side being arrested or shot or killed or detained. Seeing this unfold also, over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and 2021 is another tactic that the filmmakers employ to land the ways that show what the country was experiencing at the time, and yet how the people here have such a spirit. And so showing this juxtaposition is a unique line that our co-directors walk. And this is what Wine is singing about. His song lyrics splashing across the screen to underscore what we're seeing on screen. Now, as I said, With the collection of information that Bobby Wine uses between the talking heads, the news footage, and the interviews, it's edited and presented in a traditional documentary form. Now, one of the nice things about it, again, as I said, it focuses on one pocket of Wine's life and not try to hone in on his whole life up to this point, but just looking at this recent piece of Ugandan history. Now, some of the footage, just as a little bit of a warning, is a little uncomfortable to watch. Maybe uncomfortable for some, especially some footage that our co-directors intercut from witnesses to the actions of people on the street. Now, whether or not this film moves forward in the Oscar season, it's yet to be seen. There's no Golden Globes or Independent Spirit Award nominations for the film yet, but again, it did take the top prize at the IDA. However, the film, following the traditional documentary format, what many accept as traditional, there are a lot of other films, some of which I'll be talking later this week, that employ some other unique tactics that may pull them ahead of this one. So for me, Bobby Wine, the People's President, is 4 out of 5 stars. This documentary is a portrait of a man who will not let himself be held back and will do whatever he can for his people. If you're interested in catching Bobby Wine, the film is currently streaming on Disney Plus. And also, just a side note, this to my teachers out there that are following me, as you know, I am a teacher as well. There are some great content connections for social studies and music teachers. For social studies, there are a lot of connections between Bobby Wine and Nelson Mandela as political prisoners. And for my music teachers, there are some that parallel between Bobby Wine and Bob Marley and how they use music to influence their homeland. Okay, so there's my educational plug. Now, as always, if you like what you heard here, please click and subscribe to the channel. See you tomorrow as I continue on Documentary Week. And make sure you check out my social media pages for the 12 days of Christmas movie reviews in 25 words. And until then, see you tomorrow for the rest of Documentary Week. This is Cinephile Mike saying, take a break and watch something new.